on this computer. There you go. I think that works. Yeah, so I joined Playfair Data in January this year. Came to the US originally in 2018 because I did my exchange year at Stetson University. Graduated with my BA in 2019 and started my master's in 2019 as well, having a good mix of still business classes, including management and finance, but also computer science in terms of software engineering and business intelligence. I am located in Winter Springs. As Kevin and I briefly talked before, the company itself is spread over Kansas City and Orlando. So one of my colleagues is here with me in Orlando. The rest of our team is mostly in Kansas, but we all work remote. So we had times where some of our team members were in California, some of them were in Michigan, or wherever in the US, really. In order to kick off the Tableau exercise, I wanted to do a little game with you guys. It's why visualization is so important and why Tableau can be great use for that. So let me pull this in if it works. Let's see. Gotta stop this and get into the other screen. There you go. This is one of my favorite exercises. It was originally created by Adam Graham, but I'm gonna let you do this, and I want you guys to count the amount of 7 in this table once I click start, and whoever is first screams out how many there are in total. Ready? Go.
Nine?
I have 10.
I have 10 as well.
Answer?
Yeah, I counted 9 too.
There are 10.
Okay.
And you took 18
I missed one
seconds.
7.
All right, so now we're gonna do something else. We hide it, we reset the clock, we use, let's see, we take the number 4 this time, and I click start now, but I'll give you some hints. How many are there?
I have 18.
17.
17.
17.
17.
Yes, I'm counting one less.
You guys did much better than I expected. Usually when we do this, and it's with any number without the highlights, people usually take on average over 30 seconds to count the amount of numbers that are in this field. Once we add a color and a size differentiation with visualization, you can count, or you can reduce the time people need to dissect the information to 1/3 of the time that you usually need. So that's why visualization is so powerful. Let's see. But let's go back to the basics of Tableau, because that is actually really interesting, and a little bit background does help with the tool itself. Tableau offers 3 different types. The first one is the creator license. This one is what you would usually use in the job when you're an analyst, because you would create the dashboards, you would publish them, you would update them, you would maintain them, you have admin rights basically. Then there are business users. The business users are usually the ones with Explorer or Viewer rights. Explorer, they have access to the Tableau server, which companies usually pay for. And they can download the tools and use the tools, as well as make minor edits online. And the viewers can only access the tools. But for this, we were going to focus on the creator with Tableau Desktop. Once you're in the business world, you will see that a lot of analysts in the finance area or also in HR, they love Excel spreadsheets. Problem with that is Excel by nature is not the most efficient when operating with Tableau. Plus, the layouts are not optimized. So whenever you see a time frame on the ABC of Excel, it goes sideways, but that's not nice because you would have to update your new dashboard every single time. You want it to go downwards because when you add rows, it automatically pulls it into your visualization software and it automatically puts it into your calculations you created. So whenever you work as an engineer, a data engineer, data analyst, machine learning, any kind of data that you create, if you hand that data off, make sure it is vertical structured and not horizontal. Then what's really cool with Tableau, I know with Tableau Public, it does not come with that many choices. It usually only comes with hooking up to a file, whether it's a CSV, an Excel, Access, PDF, or that kind of stuff. But once you have the actual desktop license, you can hook up into literally any server there is. You can hook up into MySQL, you can hook up into Azure, you can have Oracle, OneDrive. But then there are also really cool things such as web data connectors, which basically let you hook into the stock market and you can track the stock market if you want to. Then for this is when you pull in that data, this is the first thing you will see. It shows you all the dimensions and fields you pulled in, and you can actually do joins, inner, outer, dual, whatever you want in here, as well as blend relationships. But that brings me also then to the authoring interface, which I will walk through real quick because this is where intuition is not given. On the left, you have the tables. So these show every single field that you dragged into your data, but Tableau automatically classifies them into a dimension or a measure, as well as into discrete or infinite, or better said, discrete or continuous fields. So whatever is blue is a dimension, whatever is green is a measure. And you also see that Tableau automatically categorizes it by the type of data presented. So you have ABC, which is strings, text. You have geographical data, which is really cool because if you have cities, sorry. Sorry. If you have cities, Tableau automatically calculates the latitude and longitude, which you can see here. I was in the wrong pipe. You also see that it automatically classifies dates with a little date icon, which is also very nice because whenever you drag it on a columns or rows, it lets you choose between a discrete date where you have March next to September or December based on the amount, or you can have it continuous where it is in a sequence. Then coming to the marks card, this is where you can do some of the magic. You have the options to drag dimensions onto the color pane. You can change sizes, add labels, add details and tooltip. And then this is really handy. This is the show me, where whenever you double click onto either a dimension or measure in Tableau, it gives you the optimal visualization for it. Now, mind you, it's a program, it has analyzed this. It's based on data, what should be the optimal way. That doesn't mean it is always, but it will give you a good start point to look and think about your data. So as a reminder, measures are usually numbers. There are continuous most of the time, and there are calculations that you can think of. Dimensions what you slice these measures by. So whenever you have sales, sales is a measure, but then you want it by region, region will be a dimension. So you can slice it per region. And then discrete fields usually draw headers, whilst continuous would draw an X or Y axis. So that's also a really nice guide. But now I wanted to jump in already and do some exercises, because Tableau is really, to learn Tableau, you have to use it. And so I wanted to create some of my favorite things, which would be just a basic bar chart, but then enhancing that bar chart with dynamic parameters. So with dynamic parameters, we need case statements. Then create some table calculations, create some if statements, do some highlighting based on parameters that we can create. Then parameters are not that pretty, so let's create a control sheet to override those parameters with dashboard actions. And then create a chart that is not available on the show me button, which I like the lollipop chart, so that's why I use that one. And these are just 3 of the types that we're going to build, but let's jump over into Tableau. For everybody who wants to do it while we go through this, I just clicked on opening Tableau right now. And we're going to connect to the sample Superstore data, which automatically comes with every single Tableau repository, which is saved under your laptops or PCs documents file under my Tableau repository, data sources, then the version you have downloaded. For me, I'm working on 2020.4. With our clients, we work on older versions, but the newest one is 2021.1. And then you will click on US and connect to Sample Superstore. We're gonna use the orders sheet. So what you would do is you'd simply drag and drop it into this pane and then do your first check. So you would see, are my rows and columns classified the correct way? You do have the chance to change things here already if they're misclassified. If you don't want order dates to be a date, you can change those to be a string or a number. Same counts for this. However, if it is a data type that does not fit together at all, it will show you null. So Tableau will give you a hint once you have it wrong. And then we would jump into sheet 1.
Before you go on, can we give a few minutes for people to grab the file from the Meetup page?
Sure, of course.
Thank you.
As I said, it's in your documents folder as well if you have Tableau public.
I think we're good.
Good, awesome. I just opened up an empty sheet, and then you can see the interface that I just showed on the presentation is exactly the same. We have our show me here. Also a cool thing, if you know what visualization you want to create and you have something in mind, show me actually does tell you what it means, what it needs as in terms of data. So if you want to create, let's see, a world map, it needs at least 1 geographic dimension and 0 or 1 measures. So that's something really easy to create. And as soon as you have those fields, you can create those by double clicking. Also, in terms of area charts, for example, you can't create an area chart without a date. So you will find a lot of guidance here in the show me as well. But let's start with something very simple, a basic bar chart. which we're gonna create with the sales measure, and we only double click it and it will automatically create a column. Now, this doesn't tell you much. It shows you how much sales the overall company had, but it does not tell you where it was. It does not tell you what category was profitable or had high sales. It doesn't tell you what region. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna create a parameter that lets us switch between a region, a category, and let's see, and a shipment. So in order to create a parameter, you would click on that little arrow down where it says create parameter. And we're gonna call this sales by parameter. The data type that I want is a string, and I'm gonna create a list that we can choose from. In that list, we're gonna define the values as the 3 values that we wanna switch through. So that would be region, that would be subcategory, and that would be ship mode. One thing with strings, make sure you do not have any enter or white space after this, because it is sensitive to everything. It is sensitive to capitalization and it is sensitive to spaces. So once you have this done, you click OK, and down here, a parameter section will pop up for you. Now, in order to make this work, we will need to put the parameter into a calculation, which we do as well with creating a calculated field by clicking on the down arrow or clicking into any empty space on the pane. Now, I'm gonna call this calculation again sales by parameter. But as you can see before, when I create a parameter, I am putting a P in front of it, and now I'm putting a C. This is nothing you have to do, but I would encourage you to start doing that, because once you have dashboards where you have a couple 50, 20 calculations in there, it will help you to filter it down once you have a search bar up there and just kind of split your calculations from the data that was in there already from the beginning. So back to our parameter, in order to use that, I'm going to use a case statement. The functionality is very similar to what you know from an if statement from Excel. But what we're going to call it is case and call our parameter and say when this case is region, then use the region field. When this parameter is called subcategory, then use my subcategory field. When this parameter is on ship mode, then use ship, nope, not ship date mode. And then we need to end it with end. It will give you an error message if it's not working. And once you click on that error message, it actually tells you what you need to change. But this calculation is valid. This is what we want to see. So we can click OK. Now, I want to show you guys the parameter. So I'm going to click show, right click on the parameter and show. And I'm going to drag that here so you can see it better. And right now it is on region. So now I'm dragging my calculated field onto the columns shelf. And sure goes, I see the regions that the sample Superstore data comes with in the US. And I can sort this descending or ascending depending on what I want. I think descending for this purpose is better. So we can see which region had the highest sales down to which region had the lowest sales. Now, the cool thing with parameters is maybe I don't want to see region, but I want to see category. once I click on category in my parameter, it automatically switches my x-axis to my parameter selection, which gives the user a lot of flexibility when they work with Tableau. And the same counts, of course, for ship mode as well. Another cool thing, if you drag parameters onto the color marks card, you can color every single selection differently. So let's see, let's color region blue, ship mode orange, and subcategory red. That's going to be handy later on when we create the control sheets. But for now, that is our first visualization. To make this a little nicer and better looking, whenever you have fields or axes, you can right click onto those and say format. And you can change the fonts, you can bump them up, make them bigger, make them bold, make them any color you want, really. The cool thing is whenever you work for a company and you will use this, you have corporate identity standards that you will follow to make sure it's in their standards. And so Tableau is extremely customizable in terms of the business needs. And whenever they want to publish something, you can make sure that that's completely up to their standards and not yours. But let's call this sheet dynamic parameter first. Oh, and to name it, you either double click or you right click and say rename. That's pretty similar to Excel. Then another cool tool that we use actually pretty often are table calculations. I'm gonna open a new sheet by clicking that plus button onto that first option Tableau on the bottom and call that table calc. Does anybody have a question? Does not seem like, okay, I'm gonna go on. For the table calculation, let's look at profit, because profit can be positive or negative disregarding the sales. And double click profit and compare it by order date. So this automatically, by double clicking, went to a discrete year. We're gonna change that by right clicking, actually left clicking, and go to the pane afterwards and change it to a continuous month. By doing this, you will see that the pill turns green. Green means continuous, blue is discrete. So this will always be in the right continuous month, whilst when you have it on discrete, I can make this out of order, which we don't want. That's not good. So I'll put it back. Great. So now I have this month-over-month comparison of my profit, but that is going to be hard for me to understand. Tableau has a really cool feature. Whenever you have a pill onto the column or row shelf, you can click it and you can add a table calculation. I'm going to go into the pane itself and show it to you. There is a function that is percent from, total, difference, percentiles, or whatever, but we're going to use difference from the table across. Yes, I think we can keep that. We don't need the table or the calculation assistance, but it's nice to have. And so what this did, it draw the zero axis all over and said either positive or negative profit. Now in the marks card on your left, you can switch this to a bar chart, which makes it easier for people to see. And another cool thing is now that you have the positive and negative changes, you can actually color them as well as positive or negative. And you can do this by dragging profit, the pill from the left, onto the color marks card. and it will give you an overview from negative to positive. Now, this is still not ideal, so I'm gonna use right click on to that pill and say edit colors. By default, Tableau gives you a continuous palette whenever it has a continuous measure. We like to put that onto stepped and put the steps down to 2. So basically I have negative and I have positive, which I like to put green for positive, but that's preferences. And then click OK or apply, depending on what you want. Oh, now we see this is wrong. So let's see what's going on here. Minus. All right, let's change this to, nope. Let's see, month, and then let's see what's going on here. Table across, relative, difference from table across, profit. Ah, I got it. Okay, so because I used a table calculation on the row shelf and I did not use a table calculation on the color marks, it shows you the total of the development. So let's redo this. Make this a table calculation onto the color marks as well by right clicking again and say, where is it, difference? Now I have to recolor this, but there you go. Good learning outcome. So that was important. Whenever you see the tiny triangle, you see it is using a table calculation. And with that table calculation, you can do differences and percentages in terms of, let's see, you can run these calculations across, but you can also in the table run these calculations down vertically. So depending on your choice here, it will change your outcome. So the usage of the direction where you calculate is really important for table calculations. Let's make this screen again to be more consistent. And let's call that good. This has one null because the first month where this starts, it doesn't have a difference for a previous month. So you will always have one null value when you create this, but you can hide this indicator really easily by right clicking on it. So cool, that was our table calc. Another thing is if you think these are too close together, you can simply right click and click on manual and you can resize this as much as you can or however you like basically, but you can also make them fixed. So that's up to you. You can add labels, you can show mark types. I would not recommending using necessarily labels here, but more work with a tooltip. The tooltips are completely up to you. You can change the look of it absolutely on your preferences. And tooltips basically just show you the values whenever you hover over it without overcrowding your dashboard. Great. Let's go to a highlighting practice that I love to use. Open up another sheet on the bottom and call it highlighter. For that, let's see, let's show sales again, sum of sales by region, and sort it. Now, imagine the user case, you are a regional manager of the East region, and you don't really care about the rest, you want to see your region only, or better said, you want to see your region and how it compares to others. We're going to make that happen with a parameter. And we're going to call this parameter p.region select. it is gonna be a string again, and we're gonna review a list. Now, a little shortcut in Tableau is rather than writing the values, you can import values by clicking add values from and then select the region that we wanted. There. It will automatically give you the values. There's also a cool feature that is dynamic. So when you click on when workbook opens, you can also then get it from these. That means whenever you update your data, it would automatically create the new region list with the new data without me having to go in and fix it. But so we'll go with this. We have central, east, south, and west. Use this, and then we're gonna create, use an if statement or a case statement. Let's see. Region highlight. We're gonna use an if statement. That if statement is a basic Boolean. Boolean in terms of true or false. We call it if the region field from our tables view here is our parameter region, then make it yellow, else make it blue, or actually change that to gray. And I'm going to do this again. Call it c.region highlight. Having if region, then our parameter. So if our region equals our parameter, then yellow, else gray, end. And we drag this highlighter onto the color marks card. Now, sometimes it's lucky and it gets actually the right color, sometimes it's not, because gray is not blue. You can double click in this and change it here however you want. I usually go with gray with the hex code 5555. Actually, that's a little bit dark, so let's make it lighter. And then this we can, leave that orange. That doesn't matter. And then our current selection is not on the region that we want. So we show the parameter and change it to the region we want. So now whoever manager you have in front of you, they can select the region that they're responsible for and highlight it so they can see theirs right away, but also look how it compares to the other regions. And then another cool thing on how you can reduce the ink on your dashboard, you can, when you press the control key and move a pill, it copies it. By doing that, I can actually get rid of the headers, maybe make them a little bit prettier. Let's say Arial 12 bold. That looks good. Make this a little bigger. Format this on the bottom by right clicking and make it the same type. And then to get rid of those nasty lines, there is this format pane, which again, you can access always with right clicking into format. I don't like grid lines. I think they're unnecessary. So I usually get rid of them in the rows shelf once by clicking here. And then I still have those axes, which are axes rulers. So I'm going to get rid of those for columns and rows. And then we have a 0 axis on the bottom, which I think we can keep. Let's see. There you go. And make it a little bit bolder. So by doing these fast and very few steps, we have cleaned this worksheet up quite a bit. And now we have a nice usability where they can switch between their selections. Now, something that I really, really enjoy is overriding parameters. But in order to do that, we're gonna create our first dashboard and put all our views on there. So the dashboard is created in Tableau by the middle button on the bottom. And you can have whatever size you actually want. I usually go with a PowerPoint size because that's what people are used to seeing. Also, you can download all of your dashboards into a PDF file. That PDF can then be distributed to your business users as well if they don't have Tableau or Tableau server, if you wanted to show it off or something. But what's really cool, you can basically drag and drop everything you created. You will see all the sheets you did create on the side, and you can drag sheets however you want, and it will actually automatically give you the parameters and calculations on the highlighter, for example, that are here. Now, most of the time I don't want that, so I'm going to show you something different. Let's get rid of those. At the bottom of this side pile, you have the option between tiled and floating. By default, Tableau gives you tiled because it is more exact and easier. However, once your dashboards are getting a little bit messier and a little bit bigger, you usually use floating. And I like floating better because it gives you more freedom in where you drag and drop your things. This one we don't need. This one we do keep for now. So I can drag this wherever I want. I can format this however I want. You can change parameters, how they look like. You can hide the titles, change sizing. You still can format even in this pane. So right-clicking, format, opens up that same formatting pane that you have onto the workbook view, or better said, in the sheet view. So you can do some formatting here too. Let's drag everything we have on the view right now and only keep what we really need. So maybe, let's see, drag this on top, make this down here. And just format it a little bit. Keep this here for now because this was we're going to change, and then drag this one here. Click the X. All right. Make this a little bit smaller and this a little bit bigger. All right, so automatically all the parameters that you set up before, they still work. So if I select a different region, still works. If I select a different category here, still works. Now, these are not too pretty. These are absolutely not pretty. And there is a way to work around these by creating control sheets. Control sheets are super, super simple. They're basically empty Excel files that you will fill with the header you want. So this was an empty sheet. I called the first header view, and then I have the dimensions that I want to slice it by written out here as values. You save this control sheet wherever you want on your computer and your machine, but you can keep it open as long as you save it, and we were gonna add a data source by clicking data on top and say new data source. This is an Excel sheet, so we're gonna connect it to Excel, and I have mine saved on the desktop. Gonna double click that. Oh, I have it in 2 programs in use, so I do have to do this and double click it, and then we can see it automatically recognize my header as view, and then my 3 values, region, subcategory, and ship mode. Now I'll go back into my control sheet, and I'm gonna drag view onto the column shelf. So I have my region, ship mode, and subcategory as a header, but now I need to add text, which I'll do again with dragging view on the text marks card. So that gives me a nice overview. I can hide the headers by right-clicking into them and deselecting the show header. And then I can color these with dragging view onto the color marks card and changing the marks to a square. So this looks weird now, I know, but we're gonna align the headers into the middle. We are gonna bump up the size of these squares. We're gonna get rid of all the borders on the outside, which we don't want the row dividers. And we're gonna resize all of this a little by making it bigger and a little bit smaller. Now, Tableau automatically fits the color of the text to what the background is. I don't like that necessarily. So I'm gonna fix the color by saying white, bold, Arial, and 12. So that's done, and then I have this color marks, and if you remember, we selected different colors for different things, and if I'm not completely mistaken, I think that was our color scheme that we went with. So region was blue, ship mode was actually yellow, and subcategory was red. Double check. Subcategory red, region blue, ship mode orange. Great. So we have this control sheet, and we're gonna drag it onto the dashboard. Now, I'll keep this parameter on the side, but we're gonna get rid of it in a second. We are dragging our control sheets here and say, right-clicking on this side says fit. We can fit the entire view. Sometimes you need to resize it then because now they're overlapping. So we go back, make the size a little smaller. Go back onto the dashboard. Now I made it too small. This sometimes is a real pain. There you go, that's good. So now this doesn't do anything until we hook it up. You can hook these things up by using dashboard actions. You can access dashboard actions by clicking dashboard on the top and select actions here. Now, Tableau comes up with the options to filter, highlight, go to URL. So whenever they click on it, they can go directly to a web page or something, go to a specific sheet, change a parameter and change set values. And for this, we're gonna change and override a parameter. So let's select that one. And I am calling this override bar chart selection. It will ask you for your source sheet. Our source is going to be the control sheet we just created, so I'm deselecting everything. The target parameter that we're going to override is called p.sales by parameter. And the field we're going to use to override it is the view where I had my values with the view header. No aggregation. And then we're going to run the action on select, not on hover or menu. Hover is used in rarely any cases because as soon as you hover over the dashboard, it's going to change everything. So most of the time, select is a good go-to, I would say. Select OK, select OK again. And then to show you, whenever I select and toggle between here, these are now hooked up to overwrite my parameter. So I can get rid of this. And let's put this in the middle. However, if you don't want to do this, you still have, we can keep this parameter in place. We can format this parameter if necessary. I cannot show a title. I can make the background black if wanted to, red if wanted to. I can put down the opacity. There's really no limit here in formatting this, but this is basically what we use on a day-to-day basis. This is my number one go-to. I'm overriding parameters. I'm using parameters to enhance my user's experience in making this easy to use, but also valuable for them to use. And then we do use a lot of dashboard actions as well. For some example, Tableau has this really annoying feature that whenever you toggle between something, it would highlight it. My team actually came up with a calculation. They call it don't highlight. And it's a string that's literally called don't highlight. And once you drag this onto the details view and go back to your dashboard, you can set up an action that is called highlight. And we will do this for the control sheet. Call this don't highlight. And do this on a selected field only, and the selected field would be the one we created. And so by doing this, it stops highlighting, which is so nice. And then usually, before I forget it, let's get rid of the tooltips because nobody needs these on these kind of things. But that's how you would create a very simple toggle. Another another sheet and visualization that I would like to show you is a dual axis combination chart. This is not shown in the basic Show Me. That is because Show Me gives you the most used data visualization types, but Tableau is much more powerful than that. We can create dual axes. We go back to the data source orders from the sample Superstore, and let's create a lollipop chart. The lollipop chart is going to be based on the subcategory as well as on sales data. Or we can make profit. Let's do profit. Profit data by subcategory on the. I'm gonna flip this in a second. And actually do sales because I don't want anything negative right now. Whenever you have your y-axis and your x-axis and you think it would be better the other way around, there is a swap rows and columns function in Tableau. By simply clicking that, it switches it as super easy. But this is basically our starting point for the lollipop. I'm gonna resize this to fit the entire view. Call this lollipop and hide that header. So this is a basic bar chart, nothing fancy, but in order to create a dual axis, you wanna hold the control button on your keyboard and drag your measure right next to it. Now the cool thing is you have two sections in your marks card that can be individually formatted, can be individually chosen a different type of visualization, and can be actually completely be independent of each other unless I make a dual axis. So what we're gonna do is for the right side of this, I will make this a circle. And in that circle, I wanted to show the sales, which you can either drag it here on label or the other way. But we're gonna format this so that it shows in the middle of the bubble. We're gonna make this into displaying thousands. So by right-clicking sales on the marks card, we click format, and we change the number to 0 decimals and display in thousands. Gonna make the circles bigger. make this probably Arial 10 and bold. Let's see if that works. Yes, that works great. Change the color to a color that we like. And then this looks good. Make this a dual axis chart. This can be done. You can either drag here this axes on top of each other, or you can right click and say dual axes. Now Tableau is trying to do us a favor and aligning the two type charts, which we don't want. So clicking into the first column, we're gonna change this back to a bar chart. Resizing this a little bit and changing the color. We are also going to change this color and say white. And we created a basic bubble chart, but we see that these don't necessarily align 100%. That is because you do need to synchronize the axes for dual axis combination chart in order to be 100% the same. And then you can hide one of them because you don't need both. I'm gonna bump up the size here a bit to see this better. There is one thing with lollipop charts why many financial analysts are trying to stay away from it. That's because the bubble makes it not 100% accurate. So with the bubble added at the end of it, the end of the line will not represent the exact value, which I don't think is necessary because you do show the exact value in the bubble. And then there's one more thing we can do is I would call it show minimum and maximum sales. That is a table calculation that we would do in the calculated field. There are these functions called window max and window min. I prepared that calculation, so I'm gonna paste it into a new calculated field, but we are basically using the sum of our sales. If it's the max of our sum of our sales in that whole window, then we color it green. If it's the minimum of the sales, we color it red. And that's it. Drag that onto the color shelf of all. And that will give us the desired effect. The screen. There you go. Now, super easy. We can identify immediately if something is positive, something's performing very well, or something's performing very poor. And that was about it from Tableau. I do have a lot of more slides that I would like to show you, but does anybody have any questions in between that I could answer? Looks good.
I guess I have a question. Like, you showed a lot of these like the no highlight and stuff like that, like these kind of like tricks. Like, is there a resource where you pick those up, or is that from practice?
It's a lot of practice, but I show some resources in a second. We have tricks. Everybody has tricks. Once you master Tableau, though, there is something I do want to show you real quick. Let's see, present from the current slide. Once you master Tableau, there is a ton of resources out there on Tableau Public where people would kind of publish their masterpieces. This one is from the founder of my company. And he created this by using the exact data that we just used. This is the sample Superstore data. And he made this so customer friendly where they can select a specific date range that they want to compare to. They can select the region by clicking onto those bits and pieces. Has different charts, different selectors up here, and actually does differentiate between exploratory, so descriptive analytics, descriptive, and annotations, which you can download these workbooks from Tableau Public and actually see and trace back what he did. So that is one of the resources I would really, really encourage people. And we can check this out later as well, but I do want to get through some of the other slides. The free Tableau resources that I use on a basic or day-to-day basis is Tableau Public. As I said, sometimes I'll just download workbooks and see how people did it. Our company has a blog. That blog is 100% free, will be free forever. My team posts every single week, either a video or a blog. And we have, I think, over 100 blogs out there now. So whenever you know what you're looking for, you can search it in the bar and you'll find it. That is our weekly email. You can sign up for that as well. It's free. That will basically show you whenever we publish a post. And it directly sends it to you and also shows you the recent content. And then another cool thing, and I think you guys are doing the same thing for Python already, we have an Orlando Tableau user group, and people would present a case that they're working on and they're stuck on, or somebody who just started using Tableau is showing her first dashboard and kind of getting some feedback on it. It is also a great way to network because people from different companies within Orlando will go through and show you current job postings, show you different events that you can join. So especially when you're still a student, these events are so valuable because you can create you can create your own network. We exchange LinkedIn links all the time. So I made some really, really good connections in that group. And there's actually the next event on April 22nd, which is the Spring Social. Sorry? Tom, did you say anything? I think he was not on mute. But yeah, so these are once a month as well, and they're 1 hour for lunchtime. So those are really nice to join. And then we do have some low-cost resources. One that I'm going to mention that is not in this deck is whenever you're a student, some universities, not all of them, but some do give you access to LinkedIn Learning for free. Use that access. You have so many Tableau courses on LinkedIn Learning. There's also a 1-month trial that is free. Make use of that. Make use of Coursera. Make use of, what's it called? Udemy. But then also, if you get more into sophisticated levels of Tableau, we have our own platform that's called Playfair Data TV. And we have a monthly subscription, we have a yearly subscription, and we have a lifetime subscription. But Amy, who is responsible for everything that's going on in our company, gave me a discount code for you guys if you are interested to receive 50% off on that subscription forever. Like whenever you sign up for a monthly subscription or maybe a year, you get 50% off. And with 50% off, this is getting really cheap. So if you're interested in that, also check that out. There are previews of every single video. They're 60 seconds long, so you can see if that's something you're interested in or not. And then also through your university, if you're still a student, you might have access to O'Reilly. Ryan, the founder, is actually a published author 3 times now by O'Reilly. And the new one, the Pocket Reference, is coming out in May. But especially Innovative Tableau that you see in the middle is one of the best books for sophisticated, a little bit higher level visualizations in the field. So if you have access, they should be for free if you can access it through your university library. And if not, let me know. I think we have a digital version of at least one of the books. And then if you have any questions into anything, this sharing and giving back to our community here, especially to younger people, has been kind of my mojo and strategy. So don't hesitate to reach out either to me or to Amy. Those are our information. If you want, add me on LinkedIn. It's Maggie as well. So reach out, really. Use the connections you can get. And then I would open it up to questions that you have for the last couple of minutes, if that's okay.
Yeah, thank you for presenting. I think we can stop the recording now.
Sounds good. Let me find this again. There it is.